We welcome you back here to the roof at the Case Center Gymnasium. The Terriers leading Lehigh 37-24 at the half in the Terriers' final regular season home contest here at the roof. The rest of the games will move over to Agganis Arena. Agganis Arena, of course, the site of the #1 BU men's ice hockey team, and of course now for the Terrier on the women's side, who will play downstairs at Walter Brown Arena. #4 in the country. And with that, it was a rocky transition, but I welcome in the head coach of the Terriers, Brian Durocher. Brian, thanks so much for joining us here, and how are you?
Thank you very much. Very well, and we appreciate any transition. As long as you have us on here and check in with us once in a while, we're most appreciative.
Well, happy holidays to you and your team as well, and to kind of talk about the holiday spirit, we can kind of go to BU seasons past, and now you are in your 10th season as head coach of the Terriers, all 10 seasons while BU has been at the Division I program. Amazing to think that it's been 10 seasons at that level right now.
Absolutely. Time flies, and thankfully we're having a pretty good time. Like anything else, it took baby steps in the beginning, trying to get started, from anything from equipment to uniforms to ice time to obviously the recruits and the most important people, the young ladies that have made us a good program here. And, after 3 or 4 years, we were sort of on the map there, and, the last 5 have been wonderful years.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the team, and then I want to go back to you and during the course of those 10 years as well. 2 NCAA championship appearances, 4 Hockey East championships, including winning the last 3. Did you expect, in your own personal belief, did you expect this program to be able to rise this quickly to this kind of stature in such little amount of time?
I think what we hoped for, was that at the end of the 4th year, we were starting to make waves. And exactly what that means, I'm not sure, but probably being in the top half of Hockey East, giving yourself maybe an outside shot to win a Hockey East championship. And, we did it in the 5th year, and then to have 3 more in the last 4 years, that's the surprise part to me, because it does take a little bit of luck. It does take good players. It takes a little bit of timing. And, we've probably had all the above, which is magnificent. But I could point to plenty of other teams that have had that and haven't quite had the, things bounce exactly how they want.
Well, I don't know if anyone's asked you this personally, but how has your own kind of coaching philosophy changed over the course of 10 years? What have you noticed about yourself that's changed in that time as you've taken over the program?
Not drastically, other than, maybe I've inherited a few of the emotions that go on in the women's side. That's certainly one of the things that's much different. And we also talk about taking on conflict a little bit, because that's not something that ladies do all that often. And I think our kids have done a great job of solving their own problems amongst themselves, talking it out, and not letting things fester. And that goes a long ways, because you don't want commotion, you don't want problems in a locker room, and you want people to be able to answer the bell when the game starts. And for the most part, we've been very good that way.
We're talking with BU women's ice hockey head coach Brian Durocher, now in his 10th season at the helm. And BU now, your team has not played since December the 8th when they beat Providence at Walter Brown Arena. And since that time, changes at Walter Brown. They were taken over by Team USA, the junior team, but a great throwback game at Walter Brown Arena, the men's team playing the Team USA. What was it like for you, a former goaltender at BU, to see men's ice hockey played at Walter Brown again?
Sure. Well, I think it's we see it every once in a while when the guys come over, and you're always amazed how quick the pace is out there. The ice is a little bit faster than the Agganis. So without a doubt, we see it from time to time. I think to recognize and support USA Hockey was also another feather in Boston University's cap. And, last but not least, when you get the memories, the banners get put up there, those are all great things. And certainly it was a fun night, great night for everybody. I did have a couple of the young ladies on our team who wondered why the banners didn't stay up there maybe on the women's side. So we may have a discussion later on. But, no, all great for many, many facets of hockey, period.
You can't have a good night of sports without some sort of drama. That's exactly what it's all about when you play in these things.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your team now. #4 in the country at the end of the first semester, 12-3-2 overall. I know injuries were a problem early on, but what was your overall take about the first semester and the way your team performed?
It seemed to follow the path I thought it might, in that we're pretty good scoring goals. I think we're about the same as we were last year on defense. To lose Kaylee Fratkin, who was a wonderful player, but to be able to have Shannon Doyle come in and fill her shoes. They're both all-star players. I called it almost a wash, and everybody else is a year older, which is great, because the Alexis Walshucks and Caroline Campbells and Lil Braggas, they're having very, very good years. Sarah Steele as well. And then in goal, we had the new faces. Right. And you know what? They both started out fine. They maybe hit slight bumps in the road. They were both injured for, I think it was 4 or 5 games. So each of them has had some rotation experience, and they've had some you be the lead person for a while experience. And, right now they're both at around, I think it's 9-10 or 9-12 save percentage, which is a nice number. there's ways to go, up a little, down a little, and hopefully they're feeling good, getting their confidence and taking care of business. I know the kids have a lot of confidence in them. We have a lot of confidence as a staff, so we believe we're going to have good days ahead for them as they gain experience.
I know you've watched enough video on your own team. What's your biggest focus going into the second semester, something that you were kind of looking at and saying this is what we really need to work on, even one or two aspects that really need to develop?
Well, this hasn't been the case very often, but this year it seems like we've got to be a little better killing penalties. For whatever reason, maybe it's a little bit of luck in the wrong direction or bad bounces, but we just haven't done a great job killing penalties, and we've got to do a better job there. Other than that, it's cliche, but let's try to take one shift and one period at a time, because the schedule gets pretty good with 3 BC games, maybe a fourth. Right. You've got Harvard, Quinnipiac, Cornell. Those are all big games in the second half.
You touched upon that game at BC. We'll get to that in just a second. I did also want to ask specifically, you talked about goal scoring, which seems to be coming at least somewhat easily for your team this year. And freshman center Victoria Bach, she came in while Marie-Philippe Poulin was injured earlier on in the season, playing part of that first line at that center spot. It's amazing when you can have a freshman have that much importance into your lineup, and then now she's becoming the third leading scorer. It really seems like it's having a nice effect on the other main scorers as well.
Right, yeah. Rule one as a coach is don't put somebody ahead of themselves too early, because not only do you put too much pressure on a young kid, but you kind of diminish the worth of the older kids who you want to make sure they're feel important, that they're gaining their confidence. And so in the beginning, she wasn't really on the top power play, right. But all of a sudden she's moved into that group where she's in the top of the power play. She's a kid who at any time can take the puck from her end to the other end, and the good thing about that is don't give up too many goals from the far end of the ice. And whether she's playing with Kayla Tatino or Dakota Woodworth, whether she was in the middle of Sarah or Sam when Pooh was hurt, she's done a great job, again, carrying the puck, getting it up there, and she's got great skills, great individual dynamics.
So now as we look ahead to the start of the second semester, you mentioned it, of course the first game back has to be a rivalry game. Wednesday night at Boston College, a 7 o'clock start. The number one team in the country. Besides the rivalry, a lot of other distractions. What are you expecting in terms of that first period as teams getting back after a long break as well?
Yeah, well, sometimes you see it. Things are a little bit sloppy, but thankfully we'll have 8 or 9 days of practice. And the other thing is just your conditioning. Practice is one thing, but when you get bumped a little bit, when you feel a little bit more anxiety and energy going into the game, you can get tired pretty quickly. So hopefully we'll gain our composure and get our second wind and play smart hockey. Boston College is clearly the cream of the league this year. They've got 6 defensemen who I think are really highly talented kids, and they set the bar pretty high with how quick they can get to the puck, get it out of the zone, and really join the rush. So we'll have to not only look after their forwards, but watch after the other people coming up from the backside.
Coach, a happy new year to you and your team, and we look forward to the second semester. Thanks so much for taking the time. Enjoy the second half of this game.
Thank you so much. Happy new year to you and Doug as well.
That's Brian Durocher, the head coach of the number 4 women's ice hockey team. The Terriers will be back in action Wednesday night when BU takes on Boston College live from Conti Forum in Chestnut Hill at 7 p.m.